Okay, all praises be to the Most High. I'm Elder Ricard Shiar along with Elder Lawyer, week 2 of our Hebrew and Bible Academy, and I have a lot of historical references we're going to use also today in breaking down the promises of Abraham or the promised seed. There's many philosophical ideologies out there when it comes religiously concerning Abraham's promise. On one end, we were taught in the Christian churches that it doesn't matter, that all believe in Jesus is counted for the seed. So automatically, when we were taught that, it was more of a case in which we need to more so deal with the more, I would say, weightier and gravity of, I would say, the weight of the walking in Christ and treating your brother like you need to be treated, more so than dealing with the significance of knowing who the people are in the earth. Right? So it really doesn't matter. We just need to get our life together and be in Christ. It sounds good, but that's false theology. That's heresy. Because while we're being taught that, Jewish people are telling people that because they are the Jews or the chosen people, they as a people now can stake claim to the land that was promised to Abraham. There's one theology that gives us nothing, but the same people who claim to believe in the same Torah gets everything because they're teaching that the promise genetically goes to Jews. Right? So our churches are telling us it doesn't matter while someone is escaping out of the back door with the bag. Now, so the question is, does it matter? Well, we're going to go into the promised seed today and let you be the judge, but also tie in, you got it, tracing the serpent seed, because that battle continues. That battle for the same promise. So we're going to take it from the Old Testament to the New Testament for resolve. Lesson today, the promised seed. Now, before we go in there, right, let's get our father Abraham out of the Bible. Because Noah went on the ark with who? Ham, Shem, and Japheth. And since you got it, we are tracing the promised seed. Now, last week was a serpent seed, and showing you the significance of it. We must show you first in the Bible our father Abraham, who came from the seed of Noah. Through that seed came Shem. Okay? Now, let's go into the Bible, Elder Lawyer, and let's find the first place our father Abram is written.
Yes, sir. We're going to go to the book of Genesis, starting in chapter 11, verse 11. And Shem, after he had begot Arphaxad, lived 500 years. And Shem lived after he begot Arphaxad 500 years and begot sons and daughters.
And begot sons and daughters.
Jumping down to verse number 28. And Haran died before his father. In fact, jumping up to verse 26. And Terah lived 70 years and begot Abram, Nahor, and Haran. Now these are the generations of Terah. Terah begot Abram, Nahor, and Haran begot Lot.
So now Lot, the one where the homosexuals came and tried to take the angels from his home, that was Abraham's cousin. Okay? Lot and Abram were cousins. Now, the promise went from Noah, Shem, to who, folks? Abram, according to the chronology. Now, the Bible gives us this chronology for a purpose. There's a reason behind this chronology. So that God's people in the very end times like we're living in today, could track the gifts the Most High promised through a particular people from the beginning. That's important. Every other nation can go back historically and gain from their rich history, except us. So you need to learn today how to track the family biblically. Okay? So this is another reason we're going into the Abraham seed, right? So that you can go into the Bible and be able to confirm our place, your place in it. Now, also, as an Israelite, but also the Gentiles who would follow Christ. Because keep in mind, it wasn't just Israelites who left Egypt. There were strangers that came with the Israelites out of Egypt. And the Most High said that if these particular people follow the commandments, we are to treat them as brethren. Now, these particular people aren't going to receive the same gifts and promises that were bestowed upon Abraham, but through Abraham, those nations shall be blessed. Mm-hmm. You have something on that, other Lord?
Yes, sir.
All right. So let's go. Now we see Abraham written up in the Bible. See, that's why the Bible has genealogy all through it. Not just from Genesis, but all the way to Revelation. So when a Christian comes, or a Christian pastor, an ignorant person comes who wasn't taught and claim it doesn't matter, then you would reply with, why does it show genealogy from Genesis to Revelation if it doesn't matter? Okay? It matters to us because we are the lost people. Okay? Now, let's go into it now. We've identified Abram, but let's start before the flood. Right? Now, before the flood happened, giving you, just catching us up here. You all know that the angels came down, slept with women, and had children. The children who were Nephilim who died eventually did what? Their spirits became evil spirits in the earth. But folks, there was a giant who escaped. There was a giant that escaped by the name of Og. O-G. Now, like I said, we go into the information not to follow the information, because we know there's good and evil in all the information the witches, warlocks, and sorcerers deal with. But there's some detailed information that links directly back to, Iraq and I went into the Talmud today, and different information that fills in the narrative concerning the giants or Nephilims who the Jewish people actually follow, worship, and revere today. We're going to tie them in with the Abraham story. And I'm going to show you how we're going to do this. In your book, don't forget the Fallen Angels, it says, here's a book by Gustav Davidson, a dictionary of angels, including fallen angels. Now, what this particular person did was use many references from antiquity that goes throughout all of the Gentile nations, including our nation, and chronologized all the angels that were written in those particular nations' history and compiled it in a book where you can actually go into it and see all the angels, the ones that's fallen, and the angels in heaven, and what their positions are in heaven, and chronologize it into one book. Now, the reason why I make a disclaimer with this book is because pagans use this book for invocation. To understand what angels are higher than others, and they use it in all their spells and all that old crazy stuff. We're not doing it for that. We're doing it for edification, to show you that they know, number one, the power of the angels. They know God exists, and they have chronologized through extensive research all angelic activity with people. It's in the book. All right? Also, it's in the book. It shows you that Yahweh is the horn god, Pan. Okay? Yahweh is Metatron. Metatron is Satan. Okay? So now, I'm just using this for a reference because it gives us some information that can be confirmed through the Talmud. I'm not going through the Talmud all today, only a few verses, but let me show you what it says about Og in this book of angels. Og, written of here. It says here, Og, a descendant of the fallen angels, the son of Ahijah, the grandson of Simjaza. Now, Simjaza was one of the 200 angels who fell with Azazel. That's written of in the book of Enoch. And the brother of Sihon, listen to this. In Jewish tradition, Og was an Amorite giant. Remember that. Amorite giant. Slain in the ankle by Moses. So the grandson of Simjaza, the fallen angel, made it through the flood. And don't forget, back then, these angels, these sons, these Nephilim could live hundreds, if not thousands of years. It says, Og was an Amorite giant slain in the ankle by Moses in Numbers, the 21st chapter. Og is king of Bashan, who was delivered into the hands of Israel by God. The war between the serpent seed and the woman seed. Yes, we warred with them coming out of Egypt. And it says here, however, listen to this. There is a legend that Og was in the flood and was saved from it by climbing by the roof of the ark. He made it through the flood. Just highlight this and put it on my finger so you can have it and pause it there and read it on your own time, in your own time. So they know that the Nephilim seed made it to this side of the flood. Now, in order for the serpent seed to continue, one of those giants would need to eventually link in with one of the sons of Noah and bring forth a race for the Nephilim again. See? So the Most High would need to raise a righteous seed on this side through Noah to oppose the wicked serpent seed. And that battle continues till this day. The only difference, they know who they are and their purpose against us, but we have no idea who we are and their purpose against us. Hence the promised seed, right? So make sure you chronologize that as, you got it, Og, the Amorite, because that's going to come in handy in a moment. Elder Lawyer.
Yes, sir.
Now, let's go into the book of Jubilees real quick. And we go in here to break down what happened after the flood with Noah, teaching righteousness to his children after the water subsided. Right? Subsequent to the water subsiding. Also, grab my book of Josephus there, where we can actually show in the Josephus the giants. There you go. Here you go. Grab that, lawyer. The giants that actually were able to make it through the flood. Confirming the reference I pulled out of the Bible dictionary. A dictionary of angels. You have it, other lawyer?
Let's see here.
One moment. I know I marked it. It's in there, right?
There it is.
You have it? All right. Give them the book. So just tell them the chapter and verse so that it's Antiquity of the Jews, right?
Yes, sir.
Antiquity of the Jews in the book of the Josephus. Go ahead.
Antiquities of the Jews, Book 1, Chapter 3, in paragraph number 6.
Come on.
Says, now all the writers of barbarian histories make mention of this flood and of this ark, among whom is Berosus the Chaldean. For when he is describing the circumstances of the flood, he goes on thus. It is said there is still some part of this ship in Armenia at the top of the Mount of the Cordeans.
So there's proof that the boat, the ark, to save all 22 kind of the Most High's creation existed in barbarian history. Even other Gentiles have chronologized Noah's ark. And that it's found where? In Armenia. Right there on Mount Ararat, near Turkey. It's still there. A matter of fact, there were satellite images that actually recorded that image in the 70s. Folks, the image of something on that mountain. It looks like part of a ship, a giant ship. Go on.
It is said there is still some part of this ship in Armenia at the mountain of the Cordeans, and that some people carry off pieces of the bitumen, which they take away and use chiefly as amulets for the averting of mischiefs.
For the averting of mischief. So the Gentile nations would chip through the ice on the mount to get to the ship, to take off a piece of wood, believing that there's some spiritual power that came with the ark who saved civilization. And they would do what? Put chains around it, make it bracelets and all that as charms for good luck. Being simple as they were. But go on.
Hieronymus the Egyptian also who wrote the Phoenician Antiquities, and Manasius, and a great many more make mention of the same. Nay, Nicholas of Damascus in his 96th book hath a particular relation about them where he speaks thus. There is a great mountain in Armenia over Minyas, called Baris, upon which it is reported that many who fled at the time of the deluge were saved.
Were saved. So there was many of them. So they weren't alone. Noah wasn't alone on the other side. Some of them escaped. And why did the Most High had to do this, you might ask? The curse of Adam and Eve. He says, I will put enmity between thy seed and the woman's seed. Okay, because of the sin, time would have to go by before judgment until sin is at the fullness. Well, you're not going to have sin and evil if there's no evil. So the reason why the Most High flooded the earth is not just to destroy the evil, but knowing that the evil was about to overtake Noah. He had to do something to intervene at that time. But there were still prophecies in place unfulfilled. So yes, the Nephilim had to be saved also, a number of them, to fulfill, I will put enmity between thy seed and the serpent's seed. So a number of them were saved. Okay? So keep in mind, the destruction wasn't just to kill off all evil. It was to save Noah and his children, to save humanity. Civilization. Okay? Go on.
It is reported that many who fled at the time of the deluge were saved, and that one who was carried in an ark came on shore upon top of it, and that the remains of the timber were great while preserved.
Now what is that one who held on to the ark until some of the water subsided? Og, who the Bible labels Og of Bashan. But folks, what's great about this historian Josephus, he's not just going into our record. He's saying you all know too. It's in your Gentile history exactly what happened when our fathers, Noah, with sons, Ham, Shem, and Japheth, were on the ark. So Israelites aren't the only people recording this, the historian Josephus is saying. He said, you all know this to be true too, because your family have amulets as proof that the ark existed. And even in your history, it shows about the deluge or the flood where one escaped and went into the mountain until the water subsided. In your history, we're just letting you know their positions prophetically according to the God of Israel, according to our God. Your history is to revere these beings through their technology and their ingenuity and all the understanding that these spirits and Nephilim have bestowed upon you. You revere these fallen ones. Okay? We are at war with them. Our God is at war with them. See? Come on.
This might be the man about whom Moses, the legislator of the Jews, wrote.
Exactly. So he says, even Moses wrote of Og of Bashan, who escaped through the flood. Hey, folks, we got the facts. Okay? They can no longer hide it. The frustrating part of this is they had it the whole time and allow us to wallow around in pure ignorance. That's the frustrating part. That we go to our people and say, listen, it's all about you. To only receive pushback. You would think our people, if we went to the Gentiles with this and say you were the people, man, they would embrace this. And be like, oh my, I always needed to understand our condition and why there's so much hatred and variances in the world while we're always on the bottom. You mean to tell me there's an opportunity to come out of this mindset? The nations would have actually repented by now. But let's go now. Let's go. Let's go now to the book of Genesis. What you got? I mean, the book of Jubilees.
Yes, sir. This is Jubilees, chapter 7, verse number 20.
Jubilees 7 and 20. Read it.
And in the 28th Jubilee, Noah began to enjoin upon his sons the ordinances and commandments and all the judgments that he knew. And he exhorted his sons to observe righteousness and to cover the shame of their flesh and to bless their Creator and honor father and mother and love their neighbor and guard their souls from fornication and uncleanness and all iniquity. For owing to these three things came the flood upon the earth, namely owing to the fornication, wherein the watchers against the law of their ordinances went a whoring after the daughters of men, and took themselves wives of all which they chose. And they made the beginning of uncleanness. And they begot sons, the Naphidim, and they were all unalike. And they devoured one another, and the giant slew the Naphil, and that the Naphil slew the Eljo, and the Eljo mankind, and one man another.
The clash of the Titans. And you notice initially when Noah came off the ark, he immediately, like coming off the mount, like Moses came off the mount, immediately began to give the law, statutes, and commandments to his children. See? So a lot of you believe the law began at Moses. No. When Moses came off Mount Ararat, that same God who would later raise up Moses first raised up Noah to give mankind the law. No fornication, no worship of idols. All that was already instituted before Moses. Just during Moses, it was written. It was cast in stone, and it was written and delivered to the Israelites. But before that, folks, the Most High had the law. He gave us the law coming off the ark. Okay? And he says, listen, why? Because these others teach contrary to life. If you break these laws, you'll fall to death and fall to the judgment, fall to the same judgment of those fallen angels and their children. And that brings a whole nother level to why the law is important. See? That brings an entirely different level. So we receive the law, folks, Sabbath and all that, under Noah. Okay? Now, I'm gonna touch on what we have here on your PDF. There's a lot I'm gonna add in between, so make sure you write in the extra precepts given, okay? Let's go now, Elder Lawyer, to Jubilees 8, 1 through 4.
Book of Jubilees, chapter 8, verse 1.
Now, the reason why in Jubilees on your particular PDF that I didn't go all the way to the verse 35, because the context of that has already been covered last week. Okay, but it's a continued flawless lesson so that it can transition you from one week to the next. So a lot of what you have in those other verses, it's in the context of what we've already studied. Okay, but I just wanted to give you that understanding. So now we're going to jump here to where the information of the giants, these tablets that the giants scribed before the flood, were actually found after the flood, right? So let's go there now. Let's go to the book of Jubilees. Don't forget, Jubilees 7, Noah gave the law. Not Chester Shem, folks. Ham, Shem, and Japheth all had the law.
Mm-hmm.
So it was intended for all the families of the earth to follow the God who would eventually become the God of Israel. See, and that's where Christ come in at, to bring all nations back under that same hedge, or that same ark that protected and guided our fathers on the waters. Okay? So that's our position as teachers.
Mm-hmm.
All right? So regardless of how I feel about how these nations purposely treated us, I can't have that particular emotion get in the way of Christ's mission that he has within us. I can't let what I feel know that they hid this information away and now conceal it from them because of what I personally feel they done to us.
Mm-hmm.
Can't do it. Because that's not my position. That's not my position. My position is to deliver the word and bring all people back into that ark according to Christ.
Mm-hmm.
Who would repent and accept our God. That's my position. Now, of course, feelings get in the way when I find out what they continually do against us, but I can't let that, divert the mission. I can't do it. Because I'll let that anger get in the way, and what'll happen? I'll treat one of the nations who did nothing to us, who had no idea what their forefathers did, and I'll treat them as enemy. Can't do it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So now let's go to Jubilees 8, where the evil information is now found on this side of the flood. Let's go to Jubilees 8, 1 through 4.
Yes, sir. Jubilees chapter 8, verse 1. In the 29th Jubilee, in the first week, in the beginning thereof, Arpachshad took to himself a wife, and her name was Rasuja, the daughter of Susan, the daughter of Elam. And she bare him a son in the 3rd year in this week, and he called his name Canaan. And the son grew, and his father taught him writing, and he went to seek for himself a place where he might seize for himself a city. And he found a writing which the former generations had carved on the rock, and he read what was thereon, and he transcribed it, and sinned owing to it, for it contained the teaching of the watchers, in accordance with which they used to observe the omens of the sun and moon and stars, and all the signs of heaven.
So he found the records that were left in stone from the past. And guess what, folks? When our people came over to the New World, talk about the Aztecs and the Gadites and the Indians, they found the information too. And the pyramids over in Mexico, those are pre-flood constructs. Okay, when they came over here, it was grass and trees and all that. They cleared all of that out and began to read that information that would do what? Help them progress civilization and build empires. So there was a lot of good in the information that can help you progress through technology, but you couldn't receive that good information without the evil information intertwined. See? So that's what we're dealing with here. So I'm giving you an illustrated understanding of what happened. The water subsided, and this guy found a temple somewhere and started sneaking and reading this information. like the Aztecs and Mayans began. Because at first it's good, just like when Eve received that that knowledge. She was like, oh, this was good to make one wise, because now automatically you become more intelligent as far as academia, as far as knowledge goes, compared to others. Automatically you become a genius because you have information others don't. So at first it's all good. Man, this, like, look how excited we are when we find out information. Aren't you excited? Like, man, it feeds your soul, right? It's like you cannot get enough, right? You can't get enough. Just imagine how Satan gives you that when he starts pulling something back. It's one thing I love about the Holy Spirit. It doesn't cost our soul. It doesn't cost us compromising ourselves to receive more. But with them, he'll give you some and be like, well, okay. Well, I need more. Man, I need more information. And then you start reading, well, this information is limited. Okay? Then you start reading, they move another page and it says, well, listen, you can go to the next stage in this, but you have to bring me a human heart. From a live virgin. See? And you're like, but you like, man, I need this information. See, to you seeing a kid running around and you're looking and saying, That's how it works. Then they bring a live human heart, and then they get a whole lot of new information. Then each time you get to another level, it requires something else. So that's why these secret fraternities have what you would call, you got it, initiations. To push the morality bounds, to see how far you're going to go, how much you would compromise your own morality to receive knowledge. So that's what happened. Eventually, by the time the conquistadors and others came to America, we were wigged out over here. We were throwing people in the pyramid with fire when the lava would come out. You had us sitting there butt naked holding staffs up. And we didn't come over to America like that. Someone got hold of that information on this side, like Canaan did in the beginning. Anything, Lord, you good?
I was going to say, I mean, it's a beautiful point. Sometimes we romanticize what the elements were when the other nations came over, when Esau came over, like it was a paradise and we were perfectly just operating in harmony. And we had elements of the commandments amongst us. We had certain things amongst us that were still righteous, but nonetheless, those evil parts were amongst us as well, which had to be judged.
Exactly. So we like to point to the ingenuity and how we was able to guard it, how we was able to do that. But what we weren't saying, what they weren't saying was how they was getting that information. When they was doing smoke signals and doing that to get rain, who taught them that? How to get on a mountain to make rain for their crops.
Right.
It was the gods giving them that information, not our God. They started seeding clouds and all that. So you go like, man, we had it going on. No, they got hold of the information of the fallen ones. Folks, those temples that they found in South America weren't built by the Aztecs. They were a part of the original construct of Satan's city. When the Most High broke open the earth through the earthquakes and the water shot out, he moved Eden and moved that area, that city of the angels, he moved that all the way west from the eyes of God. The eyes of God is the east. The sun comes up in the east and it sets in the west. So the Most High was so infuriated at this city, he cracked open the earth and moved it west. And it became the lost world that was one day founded. The city of angels. When you hear Los Angeles, it means city of angels. Those were the original cities that were a part of what? The original Eden, when the earth was one landmass. If you were to take all of the landmass together, you can piece it together like a puzzle, especially with the parts of the earth that fell into the waters, because that happened too. And you move that up, and you can put it together like a jigsaw puzzle. Okay? What we call America is deemed in some particular Gentile circles as Atlantis, the city of Atlantis. Okay? That city of Atlantis is, you see that Atlantic Ocean and all that, the Pacific Ocean? Well, the Atlantic is a divide between the two land masses that was together. Okay? City of Angels, Los Angeles, all the way going into Mexico, different parts of Arizona. All of that, folks, was one landmass that was cursed due to the disobedience before the flood. So the same way Canaan found the information there, it was found over here when our forefathers came over here. All right? Now, Elder Lloyd, let's go to Jubilees 10 and 1 through 14.
Yes, sir. Jubilees chapter 10, verse 1.
If you can, just read the whole thing and break down whatever you can.
Yes, sir.
Right,
yes, sir. Jubilees 10 and 1. And in the third week of this Jubilee, the unclean demons began to lead astray the children of the sons of Noah, and to make and destroy them. And the sons of Noah came to their father, and they told him concerning the demons which were leading astray and binding and slaying his son's sons. And he prayed before the Lord his God and said, so before we move forward, obviously we can see that after these writings were found, it led to the re-entry of evil on the earth. And these practices being taught to the point where now demons are starting to manifest and starting to attack the sons of Noah. And these are the same demons which we described last week, which were a result of the, basically the disembodied spirits, if you will, of the Nephilim. When they died, their spirits became demons or evil spirits. So now these same evil spirits are attacking the sons of Noah.
Exactly. So it's still the serpent seed operating on a different level. Okay, on a spiritual level, instead of attacking us physically like it was before the flood, they're now attacking us being demon spirits, still doing the same job, but without bodies. Okay, now, how are they able to grow and gain power and entry against Noah and his sons? Because Canaan, at this time, found the record which would give them entry and power over those who subjected to sin. So Canaan on our side became the facilitator, the vessel that these evil spirits, the Nephilim, would use. Come on.
It says, and he prayed before the Lord his God and said, God of the spirits of all flesh, who have shown mercy unto me, and has saved me and my sons from the waters of the flood, and has not caused me to perish as thou didst the sons of perdition. For thy grace has been great towards me, and great have been thy mercy to my soul. Let thy grace be lift up upon my sons, and let not the wicked spirits rule over them, lest they destroy them from the earth. But do thou bless me and my sons, that we may increase and multiply and replenish. And thou knowest how thy watchers, the fathers of these spirits, acted in my day. And as for these spirits which are living, imprison them, and hold them fast in the place of condemnation, and let them not bring destruction on the sons of thy servant, my God. For these are malignant, and created in order to destroy. And let them not rule over the spirits of the living, for thou alone canst exercise dominion over them. And let them not have power over the sons of the righteous from henceforth and forevermore.
This is a prayer Noah did for all of his sons. Ham, Shem, and Japheth. Protect them from the fallen spirits who attack the children of Adam. Protect them. You notice this prayer wasn't just for Shem. Protect them. Read.
Verse 7. And the Lord God bade us to bind all, and the chief of the spirits, Mastema, came and said, Lord Creator.
Now, when it says bind all, here's some knowledge. This is spiritual 101. The power of the name. Okay? And this is what they understand on the left-hand side. Like in the book I just showed you with the book of angels. They get this information so they can understand what power or God or Nephilim holds rank over another, or over another spirit. So when you bind spirits, Christ gave the disciples power to cast out demons, to bind spirits. Even when spirits would come in Christ's presence, they would say, have you come to torment us before our time? Know that Christ was made to judge them. So this is why they hid the name from the children of Israel. Because there's no other name under heaven whereby man can be saved. It's the magic, what they call the magic key. Mm-hmm. Now, if the children of Israel take hold of this name, it breaks the psychosis. It breaks the sorcery over the chosen. And they have no more power. And that's the rule of engagement. You have something on that, other way?
Yes, sir. Matthew chapter 12, verse number 23.
Yeah.
And all the people were amazed and said, is not this the son of David? But when the Pharisees heard it, they said, this fellow doeth not cast out devils, but by Beelzebub, the prince of devils. So they understood that power of pulling out demons.
Exactly.
Demons.
They would make the statement because there were practices of using spirits to cast out other spirits. See? Because they understood the lines of invocation according to the godly orders. Okay, this spirit is attacking. Well, this spirit is subjected to a higher spirit. Let's find out who that spirit is. Pray to that to be resolved of that spirit. And this is what people do with roots, putting roots on people and all that. That's what they do because those witch doctors, those sorcerers, those witches understand the power of binding spirits, but on the left-hand side. Now, just imagine if you got the Most High's name and Christ's name. This is why the Jewish people kept it from you. They could have no more power over you. It breaks the spell. And it's deep. And check this out, folks. I'm going to show you how deep this is. It's the name of the Most High that have delivered the truth to us and brought all things in total clarity. It was the Most High's name. He gave us that first, and everything else began to make sense. All the scales just fell off. Because we're bound in our spirit, and our spirit blinds us. There's a spirit you can't see, folks, of being able to see, but when something is evident before you, you can't see it. That's eyes to hear, eyes to see. I see this mic, but what I need to see, there's a spiritual block. That's an angel. That's a spirit. That's a demon. You have ears to hear but can't hear. That's what Christ was saying. There's a demon blocker there. If I ask your name, you'll turn immediately. But I'm telling you, you're the children of Israel and you can't hear anything. You're deaf. You can hear, but you can't hear. A demon. But through the power of the Most High, the truth breaks those bonds of captivity, not the physical bonds. Because you cannot physically get free if you're not first spiritually liberated. And that's the name of the Most High. And even Israelites who claim to know the truth and all that will deny his name, not even realizing its power. So people ask us why we have the courage to stand. And you have people, they deal with everything through fear. Man, what you saying is deep, man. Oh, man, I'm going to tell you this right now, man. Aren't you scared something going to happen to you, man? All the stuff you saying, man, ain't you afraid that somebody going to come up against you and all that? I'm like, no. We're afraid of what? Death is a curse. What the Most High made is eternal. Okay? They can't destroy me. Not if I'm in Christ. Not if I'm in the Most High. Okay, so what can you do? You can take this. What is that? When you have the name of the Most High, you don't fear what man can do. Because the Most High have the power of the angels. At any time when these worms think against his elect, to send forth hosts of angels to intervene. This is why they kept the name from you. They can't do anything without permission. Okay? They can't do nothing without permission. And this is why we can stand in total boldness with the Most High. Not to tempt him to go out and do something stupid so that we can show that the Most High is with us. No. But the courage to teach his word and to liberate God's people. You can't have fear with this because we understand the rules of engagement. We have the name. That they have no power. They can be looking like, okay, what God? Because we want to do something against them. What God they serve? Well, they serve a higher. Well, there's no other God to go to that can knock that God down under their Kabbalah chart. We have to leave them alone. Let's leave them alone and just wait for them to sin. Wait for them to sin, and then we'll find out what God they serve, and then that's how we gain power over them. Folks, that's how it works. Come on.
One more. This is Luke 10:17 to show you the difference. You had, like you were mentioning, you had that element of people using higher demons to cast out demons.
Yeah.
The difference with Christ is that we were using, or the apostles were using, the Spirit directly from on high through the power of the name. This is Luke chapter 10, verse 17. And the 70 returned with joy, saying, Lord, even the devils are subject unto us through thy name. And he said unto them, I beheld Satan as lightning fall from heaven. Behold, I give unto you power to tread on serpents and scorpions, and over all the power of the enemy, and nothing shall by any means hurt you.
Now let's go back to Jubilees.
Jubilees chapter 10.
And folks, you have to understand what you're receiving here. When the Most High says, my people are destroyed for a lack of knowledge, if we took of this knowledge, if we knew this, the Gentiles would not have been able to rule over us as long as they have. They wouldn't have been able to do it. That's the gravity of this information, where the Gentiles have no more power over you. Okay? So you have to understand what spiritual warfare is. That's what Christ had. That's what he taught the disciples. The spiritual warfare. The battle begins in the spirit world first. So what we're seeing right here with Noah is a spiritual conversation. This is him praying to the Most High, getting some understanding and resolve. Saying, listen, give me the power to bind these. And the Most High showed him exactly how to bind them. But then the devil comes and says, well, hold up, Lord. If you do this, then how will I do my work in the earth until judgment? Mastema, who's Satan. So what happened? The Most High said, I'm going to leave 10% of the spirits here, and you can control them. But that's the Most High again intervening before all of us are killed off. That's when the Most High usually intervenes. Because we'll get pressed to a degree in which we're dying in large number. And the Most High will say, well, okay, it's time to intercede. I'm giving you a space to work, Satan, against those who choose immorality. But I'm not going to allow you to now filter in and start killing off those that I need to preserve the promise. See? Come on.
This is Jubilees 10 and 8.
Yeah.
And the chief of the spirits, Mastema, came and said, Lord, Creator, let some of them remain before me, and let them hearken to my voice, and do all that I should say unto them. For if some of them are not left to me, I shall not be able to execute the power of my will on the sons of men. For these are for corruption and leading astray before my judgment. For great is the wickedness of the sons of men. And he said, let the 10th part of them remain before him, and let 9 parts descend into the place of condemnation. And one of us he commanded that we should teach Noah all their medicines, for he knew that they would not walk in uprightness nor strive in righteousness. And we did according to all his words. All the malignant evil ones were bound in the place of condemnation, and a tenth part of them were left that they might be subject before Satan on the earth. And we explained to Noah all the medicines of their diseases, together with their seductions.
So these are the angels directing. He was telling Moses, this is how we healed the people back then. The angels showed Noah the herbs that would resolve all sicknesses. Now, it was the fallen angels causing sicknesses, poisons, like the vaccines and all that today. It was their children teaching this. See? And the Most High said, listen, I'm going to give you the cure for everything. And told the angels to go teach Noah and say, write this in the book. You go through these gardens, you go into the earth and find these particular herbs, and it'll heal your children going forward. Go on, Lord.
Yes, sir. Verse 13, and Noah wrote down all these things, or all things, in a book, as we instructed him. Every kind of medicine, thus the evil spirits were precluded from hurting the sons of Noah. And he gave all that he had written to Shem, his eldest son, for he loved him exceedingly above all his sons. And Noah slept with his fathers, and was buried on Mount Lubar in the land of Ararat. 950 years he completed in his life, 19 jubilees and 2 weeks and 5 years. In his life on earth he excelled the children of men, save Enoch, because of the righteousness wherein he was perfect. For Enoch's office was ordained for a testimony to generations of the world, so that he might recount all the deeds of generation to generation, till the day of judgment.
So we know Enoch is one of the witnesses of the 24 within the heavens with the 24 elders. Because he would chronologize not just what happened in the beginning, but all the way to the end. And who's the other one? You got it. There's two more. You got Elijah, who was translated. He's there with the elders. Boom. You got Elijah and you have Moses. When Satan wanted to contend against his body and take his body, and Satan wanted to take Moses' body. Do y'all know that? And the Most High intervened with an angel and took him into the third heaven. And this is why him and Elijah was on the way to Jerusalem before crucifixion. Christ seen them both in the transfiguration. The heavens open up, that portal in which they was conversing with Christ and letting them know that the time is near, and it's time that you'll go to Jerusalem and they'll crucify you. Okay, they're part of the 24 elders. Now, real quick now that we have it set that the Most High gave a book, Elder Iraq, we seen something earlier in the Jewish Encyclopedia. Can you grab that for me real quick? You got it all prepped? All right. Man, look at these books. They're almost falling apart, right?
It says he recorded.
Huh?
Starts where it says he recorded.
Right here. No, it says right here. In the Jewish Encyclopedia, these things are old too. We're going to show you who taught Noah the medicines. Noah was taught by Raphael. So the book of medicines came from Raphael. Raphael, Allah means healing spirit, healing angel. Noah was taught by Raphael how to cure the above mentioned diseases, and was shown the medical plants and herbs. He recorded in a book all the medicaments, that's medicines, and drugs, the use of which he had been taught by Raphael. One generation to another. Later it was translated into many languages, copies of it coming into the hands of most famous physicians of India and Greece. Wow. And you tell me they didn't know. They had this the whole time, folks. Right in our faces. and other Chinese remedies. A lot of the Chinese remedies. Japheth.
At first.
Exactly. Exactly. Japheth was a part of the Babylonians at first. They were part of India. And they eventually took all that information back over in Asia, into China. Now, more. Let's go directly to now. We have Abraham and we have Shem, right? So we know that Noah is the father of the promise, but out of Noah would come a son, Shem. Shem would be the son who would receive the promise, right? Now, I'm going to go to him, but before I go to him, there's one other guy I need to highlight, and that's Ham. And that's Ham. Because once the water subsided, brothers and sisters, Ham sinned against his father. Now, there's myths out there. They're Jewish fables that claim that he had sex with his father. We have found the origin of that lie, okay? And that lie is written of in the Talmud. Rabbis came up with that lie. He did not sleep with his father. So when it says that he looked upon his nakedness, you have others precept the nakedness when it says if you lie with your mother or lie with your father, you uncover their nakedness. Or you lie with your daughter, you uncover their nakedness. And they're using those precepts and linking that to Genesis and saying that that was a homosexual act committed by Ham. We found the origin of that. It's in the Talmud. I got the Talmud. I'm researching it, man. It's evil and wicked. It's perverse. And folks, you wouldn't believe what they're saying about us. I mean, this is a children's show. I mean, we got children listening, so I guess we got to have an adult academy to let you know some of the things they're saying. Okay. But let's now go to Ham and that curse real quick, because I need to touch on that, to highlight something later when I deal with, the serpent seed against Abraham. Let's read it real quick, Elder Lloyd.
Yes, sir. This is the book of Genesis, chapter 9, verse 20. And Noah began to be an husbandman, and he planted a vineyard, and he drank of the wine and was drunken, and he was uncovered in his tent. And Ham, the father of Canaan, saw the nakedness of his father, and told his two brethren without. And Shem and Japheth took a garment and laid it upon both their shoulders and went backward.
So it says he did what?
And Shem and Japheth.
Now before that.
Yes, sir. And Ham, the father of Canaan, saw the nakedness.
He saw the nakedness. He didn't uncover his father's nakedness. So he was mocking his father. His father was just, he was traumatized, Noah was, after seeing the whole civilization killed. So the first opportunity he got, he planted a vineyard and waited patiently for those things to get right and got blasted. Okay, he drunk and he fell out, and it so happened that he wasn't conscious of the fact that he was uncovered. You have other people coming with Jewish fables saying that means Ham slept with Noah's wife. None of that happened. He was mocking his father, naked. If he had any honor knowing his father was like that, he would have did what his other brothers done. Read it.
Yes, sir. Verse 23. And Shem and Japheth took a garment and laid it upon both their shoulders.
Exactly. Now, if this was an act of homosexuality after Noah teaching the law, they would have killed their brother or something like that. Okay? So it wasn't no act of homosexuality here. He shamed his father, and what happened was the brothers put the garments on the back of their shoulders like this, one brother here and another brother here. And they walked backward and covered their father's naked body. Read it.
It says, and laid it upon both their shoulders, and went backward, and covered the nakedness of their father.
Come on.
And their faces were backward, and they saw not their father's nakedness.
Thank you. They saw not their father's nakedness. So anyone that's dealing with those philosophies and a lot of dribbles out there all online and all that, know the origin of that lie came from Jewish fables, the Talmud. When you hear of Jewish fables, let's read that real quick in the book of Timothy. Know that what our fathers and those in the church in the New Testament was talking about was the information, the fables that were written of in the Talmud. It's Titus 1 and 14.
Book of Titus, chapter 1, verse number 14.
Read.
In fact, I'll start in verse 13.
Yeah.
This witness is true. Wherefore rebuke them sharply, that they may be sound in the faith,
Come on.
not giving heed to Jewish fables.
The Jewish fables is the information, the lies they've written about in the Talmud by their rabbis. Lies, purposeful lies against us. Read.
And commandments of men that turn from the truth.
And commandments of men that turn from the truth. Because what the Jewish rabbis say is, well, yeah, we follow the Torah, but we follow the Torah according to the Talmud.
Mm-hmm.
See?
Mm-hmm.
So they're switching and turning the commandments upside down to follow their perversions. This right here is Titus actually coming against the rabbis who are exalting the Talmud.
Mm-hmm.
So don't believe any of those stories. If it doesn't say that Noah had sex with his father, don't go into that. Because that element came from the Jewish fables, the Talmud. I have a Talmud. I got it on my laptop right here. The whole thing, a 1918 Talmud, and it goes into all types of lies they made on purpose to distort the truth of the Torah and the Tanakh, to justify their wickedness. Okay? They'll look at homosexuality and they'll translate homosexuality through the Talmud, and it justifies homosexuality. They're like, well, the rabbis say that this, that, and the other, that lying with mankind, and that's talking about in an evil intent of hate in your heart, rape, and something of incest like that. Usually when that happens, then that's the evil intent of what you would call a sin that was meant for death. But when it's love, without an evil intent, not against the person's will, that a rabbi would eloquently write that out in the Talmud to justify, to philosophize homosexuality into being a righteous thing.
Mm-hmm.
See?
Right, and that's why it makes mention of after the fables, it makes mention of the commandments, because they'll then quote one of the fables and say, well, this happened in this particular story that's a fable story, and say because this happened, now this new thing that they came up with is true.
Exactly. That's how they use the Talmud. Okay, to break the commandments, and through and not just to break them, to now through the Talmud rabbi writers to be justified in breaking them.
Exactly.
And absolved from any guilt for breaking them.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Now, we have that. Now let's go to Abram, our father. Because out of Shem, we know that Noah is the cursed seed. Right? And we know out of Ham comes the cursed seed. Pass me that Jonathan Bible Dictionary real quick, so I can get the families of Ham real quick.
Mm-hmm.
Right? When you go to Ham out of the Bible Dictionary, and we have it marked here, Ham, it reads here, Ham, the youngest son of Noah. born probably about 96 years before the flood, and one of 8 persons to live through the flood. He became the progenitor of the dark races, not the Negroes. But the Egyptians, Ethiopians, Libyans, and Canaanites. These are 4 families of Ham, excluding us, which means Zondervan know that we are not Hamitic, that we're a different race. We're not Hamitic, we're Shemitic. We're from Shem. So even Zondervan knows this. So why would they like you to believe that you're from the cursed seeds of Ham, which is also a Talmudic philosophy? Why? Because it was the curse of Ham is why they began to bring forth that ideology and add it into Christian theology in the Western world and begin to spread the lie like they've lied about everything else.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Because of the curse that's on Ham is why they want us to believe we're Ham.
Mm-hmm.
What curse? Not just on any family. The cursed son, folks, the cursed son who mocked his father after the flood. So they're putting all the dark connotation and the evils of the earth when it comes to character on us and teaching it as part of their theology.
Mm-hmm.
Having our pastors and our leaders carry that water into believing that we did one of the first evils after the flood. And now, because of that, how they're treating us as a people has now been justified.
Mm-hmm.
Through theology now. Let's read the curse, Elder Lawyer.
Yes, sir. And I want to see if the brothers and sisters can pick up on something concerning this curse. It says here, Genesis 9:24, and Noah awoke from his vine, and he knew what his younger son had done unto him. And he said, Cursed be Canaan, a servant of servants shall he be unto his brethren. And he said, Blessed be the Lord God of Shem, and Canaan shall be his servant. God shall enlarge Japheth, and he shall dwell in the tents of Shem, and Canaan shall be his servant. And Noah lived after the flood about 350 years.
Go ahead, Elder.
Yes, sir. So if you notice, usually when you hear this curse, you hear about the curse of Ham. The curse of Ham. Ham is cursed. Ham is cursed. But when you read the scripture, it clearly states what? Cursed be Canaan. So even though Ham did the sin, it was only one of Ham's sons that bore the curse. So the whole concept of the cursed seed of Ham is a misnomer. It's a false concept.
Exactly. But they paint all blacks with a Hamitic brush.
Exactly.
Another thing I thought you were going to highlight, but I'm going to bring it out. You notice how it tells us in the scriptures that Canaan would serve Shem.
Right.
So if they're claiming to be Semitic or Shemitic and are teaching that we're from the cursed seeds of Ham, blacks are predisposed. We're predisposed into doing what? Serving them. So now when they're over these corporations and music business and whatever they're over, they're justified in taking us and raking us through the coals and stealing all of our money. Because we were born to work and give everything that the Most High prosper us with to them. They learned that in the synagogues, that we were made through all of our talents to work and give all the money to them based on what's written of in Genesis. They're justified now. So any pastor or preacher who would teach we are Ham, understanding what you are actually agreeing to. You are agreeing to everything that you and your children have worked for should now be handed over justifiably to Jewish people. That's what they're teaching in the synagogues. And this is what's keeping them on the top and the children of Israel, our people, on the bottom. So when you teach Ham, understand, So what they did was, once we went into captivity, it was like, okay, we'll kill off all the people who know they're Israelites, and we'll teach their children that this servitude in captivity is justified, not as a curse for those who broke the law under Moses, but now we're going to switch that out and say they're the sons of Canaan. And this way they would live in a perpetual servitude from one generation, not even looking forward to actually ruling according to a promise. They wouldn't be looking for a promise. They were born to serve Shem. Right? Now look at your screen here. Because if we're going to give you the children of promise, we have to give you every side. You have to understand also the mindset that they have created in the earth through Christian falsehoods. And guess what? It doesn't come from Christianity. All the false doctrine that they teach come from the Jewish Talmud. It has nothing to do with Christ. I need y'all to look at y'all screen here. Right? Let's go in. Real quick. I'm going to pull this one up first. Right? I don't know if y'all can see that. I'm gonna hone all the way in here. Oh, that's good, right? They can see that, right?
Mm-hmm. You want a little bit more?
Huh?
You want to bring it a little bit more?
Yeah. That's better.
A little bit too much.
Okay, I got it. I have it. It's work. Yeah. Right? We're going to start here. Where it says right here. In rabbinical literature, Ham is represented by the Talmudists as one of the three who had intercourse with their wives in the ark. What the hell? Listen, this is what's coming out of their Talmudic thinking, folks. In the Jewish Encyclopedia, this is read, right? The Talmudists is one of three who had intercourse with their wives in the ark, being punished, therefore, in that his descendants, the Ethiopians, are black. You turned black because of the wickedness you did on the ark, right? Then listen to what they're teaching. This is,
right, with his own wife.
With your own wife. That's the Sanhedrin 108b. This is what the rabbis are teaching. Straight racist against black people, putting all the sins and evil, anything dark against us. And you wonder why their children come outside and you never even met their children and they looking at you as subhuman. Some explain the obscure passage. When it says some, it's speaking of their rabbis. Ham emasculated his father, saying, my father has 3 sons already. Now, so they're saying he did something to try to feminize his father so his father wouldn't have any more children.
Yeah, it's worse. Yeah.
Hold on. This is this crap they teaching in the synagogues. Ham, now when they talk about Ham, they're talking about you black people now. Ham emasculated his father, saying, my father has 3 sons already. And that's why they glorify and sensationalize these flamboyant black dudes that are homosexuals. So that they can now give a perfect now public example of what they've been showing in the synagogues the whole time. Right? Therefore Noah cursed Cain and Ham's 4th son, saying, you got it? What? Saying, thou hast hindered me from having a 4th son. I will curse thy own 4th son. Now that never happened in the Bible, folks. This is these Talmudist demons. According to another opinion, another what? Opinion. Just fill in Jewish fable right here.
That's right.
According to another opinion, Ham defiled his father, and Noah cursed Canaan because Ham, with his father and his 2 brothers, had been previously blessed by God. Sanhedrin 78. Another opinion, you know they're just giving opinions now, no fact. Another Jewish fable. declares that the mutilation of Noah was committed by Canaan, but was really caused by Ham, mentioning his father's nakedness in the presence of Ham's youngest son.
Let's bring it down a little bit.
Huh? Yeah, gonna bring it down?
Yes, sir.
Right? Youngest son. Possibly, no fact here now. Let's mind you. Possibly. Oh yeah, well, you know, this possibly happened.
Right.
Let me throw something else in there for you black folk. Possibly, Ham saw Canaan's deed and did not condemn him for it. Ham was punished by having his descendants led into captivity with their buttocks uncovered. Oh, they don't see that. Look. What the? Oh, hold up here. Oh. Ham was punished by having his descendants led into captivity with their buttocks uncovered. So this is why they glorify through hip hop, even though they wouldn't allow their women to be shown like this. Women twerking with their butt out publicly so that they can go in the synagogue and say, see, I can show you films right now. I can show you videos of them doing exactly what what our rabbi said they would be doing in these last days. Showing their behind. And this is why they have promoted this, the Jewish people, and glorified this and actually incentivized this behavior so that we can show the example of heathenism. To justify them doing what? Being our perpetual masters. See? Because we're Hamites. So when a preacher teaches they Hamites, understand that this is what they're saying Hamites do.
Exactly.
In their synagogues. Right? You got something, lawyer?
I was going to say something.
Okay, come on. What?
It says buttocks uncovered, and it's like a direct justification for if you can like point to slavery and say, look, these people were naked.
Exactly.
Exactly.
And you can point to it. You can, like you said, you can point to it and say, well, listen, we civilized them. They was running around with strings up there behind, uncivilized until because they Hamites. Here's another thing in their Jewish encyclopedia, all right, in their Talmud and all that. It says here, huh? Back up, yeah. Here's something else. We have their records, folks. We got all their books, a whole stack of them over there. Listen to this. He cursed Canaan, made him a slave, that he might eat and drink of that which his master possessed. So the Jewish people must possess everything, and we must do what? Be subjected unto them forever. Socialized by them, because we were meant to serve Shem if we take on what? The label of Ham or Canaan. This is why they're teaching we're Ham in the churches. Our pastors don't even know the gravity of this false doctrine. Canaan, upon his deathbed, left to his children the following rules of life. Now check out what Canaan said. This is what they now relate to our people who are not Canaan, but they're saying it now. Let there be a mutual love between yourselves. Talking about homosexuality. And I need you all, imagine your last words. This is what you say to your sons. I want you to love robbery.
Wow.
And unchastity.
Wow.
Hate your masters and do not speak the truth.
Wow.
Not only by words, but also by deeds. Canaan exemplified to his sons. Wow. Now imagine Jewish people teaching their children this in the synagogues for the first 10 years of their education. And now these children come up in our community and look at this and see the buffoonery that's going on and saying, well, yeah, they look like Canaanites to me, like Hamites to me. I mean, maybe their father was right. No, this is what's being perpetuated and incentivized by the Jewish people so that they can now have what? They can have physical proof not just through Christianity that we're ham, but by our activities, how we're acting. So they'll sensationalize all the negative stereotypes to justify them treating us like dirt. Saying, well, we're supposed to. They were meant to serve us. And look what their father said. Their father didn't leave no good news at the end of his life.
Mm.
The father said, listen, I need y'all to love between yourselves, homosexuality, love robbery, and unchastity. Hate your masters, and do not speak the truth. Bad Hamite. Bad Hamite.
Mm.
Right? Hold up, one more. One more. Oh, let me see if I can. I have more for you. Check this out. Right? Look at this, other lawyer. It says, in the literature, let me see, let me go up a little bit here. Yeah. More. Oh, yeah, Alexander? Yeah. More lies. In the time of Alexander the Great, the descendants of those Canaanites who had left Palestine at the request of Joshua and had settled in Africa sought to regain the promised land. Gibeah ben Pasisa, however, who appeared before the king in the interest of the Jews, showed according to the scriptures by which the Africans traced their ancestries to Canaan, that ancestor had been declared the slave of Shem and Japheth. Now that's a lie. The Jews therefore not only had the right to hold the land of their slaves, but the Africans had to indemnify, that means we owe them, indemnify the Jews for the long time during which they had performed no service for them. Wow. So they got to make up for the time we didn't have our foots on their neck. They were made to serve us and their children. They teach this in the synagogue. In consternation, the Africans then fled to their homes. In the literature of the German French Jews, Edomites, right? In the literature of the German French Jews of the Middle Ages, the Canaanites and the slaves were considered identical. There you go to your Canaanite theology again. Owing to the similarity of the latter name with the German word for slave. Right? Now, I need y'all to check this out, brothers and sisters. They're going through great lengths to have it where blacks, or they're doing everything they can to relate Africa to Ham and Ham to us. When really those that Alexander ran into said that they were from the land of Canaan because the Israelites took the land of Canaan. Those were Israelites that Alexander ran into. But the rabbis twisted. Right? To justify their wickedness. One more. One more. Huh? That was it. I had 3 of them, right? Yeah, I had 3 of them all together. Folks, I took pictures today, and this is what took us a while before the in-between segments, or well before then. I had to get things together. Folks, this is why the Jewish people or the media and others are justified into portraying us as heathens. They'll never highlight anything positive and righteous that happens amongst our family, because why? It doesn't fit their private stereotype of labeling these blacks as Ham. Because why? Eventually their children will grow a conscience. So you have to put it in the psyche of them regularly so they can be justified how they're treating us. So you only highlight the robbery. And then imagine you see a robbery on TV and they got our mug, and then your child now is in the synagogue hearing that Ham said at the end of his last words, rob more people.
Mm-mm.
Immediately, you're going to get a gun to protect yourself from black people.
Mm-hmm.
They're genetically predisposed to be homosexuals, to have immorality, and to rob others, and to have their butt hanging out.
Mm-mm. Mm.
Pastors do not understand the gravity of teaching the evil wickedness. You don't know what you're doing when you're telling our people that we're from Ham.
That's right.
You're justifying all what the other nations, especially the Jewish people, have always done to us and against us.
Right. And this stuff like this needs to be included when they pull out the anti-Semitic thing. This needs to be included in those conversations when they want to talk about the hatred that's being castigated against Jews. What about the hatred within your records that's castigated against the so-called African Americans?
Exactly. This is the material, like you was mentioning, Elder Lawyer, that need to be pulled out. When they try to put us on the defense for highlighting the evil through Zionism. You need to have historians. I mean, that's why they avoid us with everything they can. Even when I was trying to set up a conversation with that guy James White, he had a list of things that he said we shouldn't talk about. Well, no, we can't talk about the Jews being black. I didn't do the research on that. What? You're speaking to me right now because you are against us claiming that we're black. We can't have that conversation? Well, no. But I'm like, you know what? I'm going to talk to this demon anyway because this is going to allow me to have access to certain people who've been following him who would have never heard of us otherwise. I'm like, I don't care what people think about it. Something I'm going to say through those dialogues that's going to resonate with someone, and a light will come on. Okay. He had a long list, including, well, I can't talk about whether or not blacks are Israelites. I can't do that. But that's why they avoid us with everything, and they go follow these other guys that are talking nonsense. Because I'll go straight to, I'll be sitting there on CNN or whatever else with the Jewish encyclopedias in front of me. I'm like, well, no, this is what your rabbi said. This Sanhedrin, this book, that book, this is what, I didn't say that you were Edomites. Jewish people say that you're Edomites. It's in your Jewish encyclopedia. That's why they avoid us with everything in them. Right? Now, so they labeled us Ham because Ham was meant to serve Shem. That needs to resonate with you. That means you and your children are property of Jewish people under the label Ham forever. Why? Because they're Shemites. They are Shemites. They're from Esau. So if you take on the claim or the name Ham, you were born to serve them. Because it's not just you serving one seed of Shem. The Canaanites was meant to serve all of Shem's children. Okay? They're being servant to Shem. Now, the top Shemite in position right now is Esau. So you kill those who know we Israel, teach the children their hand, incentivize the pastors and let them know you'll be rewarded for teaching this doctrine. And now, what have you done? You have created a generational curse from one generation to the next of people who believe they're predisposed to be in possessions of Jewish people. Boom. Now, how does this link in with Canaan? Abraham's promise? Well, we had to set that up first because now we're going into Abraham. I'm going to show you the promises, who we are, and why they are concealing the promised seed from us. They'd rather us believe all these with this black smoke and mirrors. Zondervan know that we're not Ham, we're not Egyptians, we're not the original Ethiopians, we're not Canaanites, and we're not Libyans. We're none of those families. Who are we? Second part, children of the promises. Abraham's seed coming up.